Yo, we're back. Another StryfeSight. Another StryfeSight. This one's gonna be StryfeSight on Black Sabbath. StryfeSight on Black Sabbath. Now I know, I may have told a fib, if you will. I may have told a fib, if you will, saying that I was going to do Metallica. I wanted to go earlier than Metallica. Metallica is a 1980s metal band. I wanted to do metal or some form of hard rock, but much earlier. So, and I already did Journey. This started in the 70s. I also did Led Zeppelin, which started in like the late 60s, but basically the 70s. And I thought that Black Sabbath was a better choice. So that's what I went with. Black Sabbath, 19 studio albums. When I tell you it was a lot, I'll tell you it was a lot. I think if I didn't have a tournament that I won, by the way, yesterday, if I didn't have a tournament that I was in, I think I probably can do maybe about 20 to 22 albums tops in a week. And that's multiple listens and still not get burnt out, still have time for video games, still have time for my lady. Yeah, I think I probably could. But anyway, let's get into this. StryfeSight on Black Sabbath. Let's go. Now, Black Sabbath, forefathers of metal rock, their first studio album is called Black Sabbath, of course, with their first song called Black Sabbath, of course. It opens with, the self-titled song. It's a slow and creepy feel, but it makes you nod your head, Immediately, I noticed that the drummer in this band is catching my ear. His style is like oddly like jazzy and just more rhythmic than I expected. The album also has a bounce between a jazzier rock mix style and mixed with classic rock amongst the metal from the instruments, in my opinion. Now, there's a concept song called Wicked World, which is a rock jam. Wicked World, which is a rock jam that actively details parts of our wicked world. I just love the content of that. Also, the guitarist in this album is getting it off. This album, there are lots of solos and some like just the guitar and nothing else. I don't know what the phrase is for, like, I don't even mean drums. I mean like just the guitar. Like no vocals, no bass lines, like all guitar. And I'm just like, okay, this is nice. I mess with this. Another concept song we have is called The Wizard. This is a song about Gandalf. It's a song about Gandalf. Yes, I love a Lord of the Rings reference. It's fantastic. I love a Lord of the Rings reference. It goes to show how popular and how inspirational Lord of the Rings was, because this came out in 1970, correct? So I believe the books were made in the 40s to 60s, I believe. So a lot of people knew about them, including Black Sabbath. Now, another concept song, Black Sabbath, we were speaking about this earlier, is a creepy song about an unwanted confrontation / possession with Satan. So yeah, that's a little creepy on the vibes, but the song makes you, it just makes you feel a bit. Now the hits on this album end up being Wasp, NIB, and Black Sabbath. The feel on this album had mostly a classic rock feel with touches of faster paced jazz driven by the drum patterns and guitar style, with some eerie and creepiness from the vocalist, from the vocalist lyrics. And the style and the mentions of Lucifer in the 70s. So I imagine that the mention of, Lucifer and all of that in the 70s it hit a lot harder than talking about it now. It's 2026. We're a whole 50-some years, 56 years past that. So, but back then, religion was a bit more serious. So I imagine that was really intense for people to hear back then. My favorite song on this ends up being NIB. This jam just felt fun. despite it being somewhat serious lyrically, it's about a journey taken with Lucifer. Also, and it also has a dope solo. So yeah, little serious, but it's a jam. Like the way they play it is a bop. Like the way they play it is a bop. My favorite solo ends up being on NIB at 305. It's a fun, melodic, and powerful like mid-octave solo. So I like that a lot. The instrumentation on this album had very groovy instrumentation all around. There's touches of jazz and touches of the beginning of metal sounds, because this would be, metal hadn't been necessarily created yet. So this is, some of the sounds on there are the beginning of metal and people didn't really know what to call it. So the guitarist ends up winning Stryfe Standout though, because he seems like he was just featured a lot, along with several solos and guitar intros and outros. Now, next album we have is Paranoid. Paranoid, this is the album that most people would probably know Black Sabbath from. They have, I think, 3 or 4 mega hits in this. They have dun 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 dun. So like you might know that just because it is so popular. You know, Iron Man. You know, the song's Iron Man. It's on this album. So, but anyway, this album begins with War Pigs. This is their biggest hit on the album, or one of their biggest hits on the album that I recognized and I knew. It was you know, I was like, oh shoot, I know this song. I recognized it from the riff. Now, there's a concept. The concept song of War Pigs is a song that is against the Vietnam War at the time. Keep in mind, this is 1970. Speaking that the rich politicians incite wars for gain, with the poor citizens being at risk. And also, there was something to note. There's a song called Planet Caravan in this, and Planet Caravan is just Planet Caravan is just a long instrumental jazz joint, and I was just like, what? Like, I was like, I mess with it. I mess with it, you know? I mess with it. There's another concept song, Iron Man. I just hummed the riff for you. Dun 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 dun. Before we get to the concept, a fun fact, this song was gonna be called Iron Bloke. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy that they didn't end up going with Iron Bloke. This band, I believe, is from UK. So yeah, they are from the UK. So it was just pretty funny to read that when I was researching about the songs. The concept song of Iron Man is a song about a man who travels to the future, sees the apocalypse, and turns to steel and returns to warn humanity. Ignored and shunned, he takes revenge, fulfilling the apocalypse. So not quite Iron Man like the Marvel's Iron Man that we know, but yeah, it's an interesting concept nonetheless. Now, there is a song on this called Hand of Doom, which started with a hip-hop like rhythm, or maybe smooth jazz with a classic rock pace switch. It was a super interesting jam. I was just like, what is going on here? My brain was like, this is hip-hop. I heard it immediately. But there's another concept song here called Fairies Wear Boots. And I believe this is kind of the beginning of maybe metal stoner rock or stoner rock in general. I don't know the label. But this is clearly a psychedelic song, Fairies Wear Boots, just based on the title, Fairies Wear Boots. It's a song where Ozzy swears he saw fairies wearing boots. And he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You smoke too much." So that's pretty funny. That's a pretty funny song. Now the hits on this one end up being War Pigs, doo 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 doom doo doom. I'm trying not to get copyrighted, so if you notice me doing the riffs of things, it's because of that. I would love to like maybe play one of the hits, like maybe 10 seconds of it or something, so people can understand what I'm talking about. But I will just do the research for you, and you can go listen to it if you want. Now, the hits once again, I'll say, are War Pigs, Paranoid, Iron Man, and Hand of Doom. The feel of this one felt like more jazzy and smooth and cool. A Night Drive comes to mind based on the drum patterns and some of the bass lines, especially with Hand of Doom and Planet Caravan. My favorite song ends up being Hand of Doom. It just feels like a smooth and fun joint. It's my vibe for sure. War Pigs are also tied because I think that the instrumentation is very interesting on it, and it is timeless content relevant to today. 50 years later, War Pigs is still relevant to today. Now, my favorite solo ends up being Rat Salad. This is at 117 on Rat Salad. Is a super fun and a technically just cool drum solo. This is just awesome patterns and rhythms, and I like it a lot. Now, the instrumentation was very fun and technical. Thank you for the biddies, Hollow Thirst. We're in the middle of a vid, so I will continue. The instrumentation is very fun, technical, and smooth with the instruments, although it is very noticeable how the drums and guitar are popping out to me to be very impressive to my ear. The Stryfe standout goes to the drummer. This guy, Bill Ward, is phenomenal at laying foundation and shining in his intended moments to shine for sure. Shining for sure. Next, we move to 1971. 1971, Master of Reality. Master of Reality starts with Sweet Leaf. This is a hard rock jam with a fun and fast pace switch in the middle of it. Once again, the title Sweet Leaf, I believe this is maybe early stoner rock, I'm gonna guess. Somebody can educate me in the comments, that would be great. But there's a concept song in this named After Forever, which is like a hard rock joint about the afterlife, contesting the traditional ideas at the time. Now, Children of the Grave is a song that feels metal, one of the few that like felt metal from most of the music so far. This also has a classic rock. It also has a classic rock feel as well. So this album, I believe, is where the sound begins to turn for real. Now, Orchid seems like a full, not seems, Orchid is a full acoustic guitar interlude of sorts. Now, there's another concept song, Solitude. This is a song about the true solitude felt after a breakup. It's pretty dark and very, very sad and soft song, but it's beautiful though. It's beautiful. Another concept song, Into the Void, very metal song. Seems to be about being away from Earth in a strange future. I think this is also stoner metal rock. You know, the hits on this end up being Children of the Grave and Sweet Leaf. The feel of this album felt closest to metal. Hard and fun night driving comes to mind once again. Lots of heavy riffs, giving this album a lot of head nodding from me. There is a splash of sadness in this album though, with Solitude sticking out like a sore thumb because the rest of the songs don't fit like it. So I was like, oh, interesting. My favorite song ends up being Children of the Grave. It's just a lengthy metal jam that had me nodding from beginning to end. So I was like, oh yeah, this is my joint right here. My favorite solo ends up being on Orchid. The entire song is a peaceful and warm acoustic guitar, just playing. There's a tone, is it Tony I? It's just playing beautifully, and I like it a lot. The instrumentation on this album is somewhat balanced, but the guitar has been dominating as what I hear most, even with the vocals, the solid drums and bass lines. The Stryfe standout goes to Tony I, as his guitar play is just epic and hard, very metal and technical. I appreciate that. Very metal and technical. Next we have Volume 4, 1972, once more. Now this opens with Wheels Not in the Sky. Wheels of Confusion. Wheels of Confusion, a slow hard rock jam. Now there's a concept song here, Changes. This is a very popular mega hit song. I'm going through changes. If you recognize that, that is what the song is that I'm talking about. Changes is a soft rock song with piano and strings, which was odd for Black Sabbath. And Ozzy apparently was inspired by the drummer Bill Ward's breakup with his first wife. So that was how that came to be. Now, there's another song, Supernaut, is mostly a jam session with a very cool bridge. You know, I was like, oh, okay. They have a decent amount of just songs that are just pure instrumentation, and I like that. Now, there's a concept song, Snowblind, is a fun rock jam that references the use of cocaine for Black Sabbath during this album. It honestly sounds not the use of cocaine, but the song sounds fun. It sounds nice. So it was pretty cool. Now, there's another song, FX, sounds like some sort of cinematic sound effect in a quiet sewer or something. And there's also a song, Laguna Sunrise. Sounds like a Laguna Sunrise. I've never been to Laguna, but I do know, I believe it's a beach somewhere. But the song basically just sounds like a peaceful beach background, acoustic guitar like playing in the background. Sounds great. And Heavenly Ascension, or maybe like a heavenly ascension is what it sounds like, or some holy thing approaching from above, or like a gorgeous woman walking slowly, and like the music behind that is what I'm thinking of. Now, the hits on this album end up being Changes, Supernaut, and Under the Sun. The feel of this album, it bounced between metal, classic rock, and a soft rock feel. I believe I'm beginning to learn the difference between metal and classic rock due to them switching back and forth. And, you know, it's fun to hear because I do like both. Now, my favorite song ends up being Under the Sun. This is a metal jam that just feels awesome from start to finish. Plus, it's got a fire pace change at the back end. And, you know, that sealed it for me. My favorite solo ends up being on Supernaut. It's at 142. Tony I just shreds with technical and melodic skill. It's a solo that just sounds super epic. I liked it a bunch. Now, the instrumentation on this album was still guitar leading, but the bass, drums, and vocals are great as well. I do think that the metal style emphasizes more on the guitar and drum play, while classic rock is a bit more balanced instrumentally speaking. Tony I wins the Stryfe standout due to his play being the driving force, in my opinion, despite awesome vocals, despite the awesome vocals, drum, and bass lines. Now, next album ends up being 1973. We go into Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Now, this starts with a big classic rock jam, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, self-titled. Fluff ends up being another one of those peaceful interlude guitar, acoustic guitar, piano joints. So we've got FX, we've got Fluff now, and we also have Laguna Sunrise. Now, there's a concept song called Sabra Cadabra. This is a funky blues rock jam with a keyboard in it. Being about infatuation, was apparently inspired by Ozzy's first wife. Now, there's another concept song, Killing Yourself to Live. This is a jam about the wildness of the music industry for them at the time. They were essentially working. And working to survive, playing music to survive, despite how big they were. Now, there's another concept song, Spiral Architect. This feels like a Gurren Lagann reference. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Spiral Architect. I don't know, man. It's a classic rock jam about life affirmations and growth, which is odd content for them thus far. Social decay and religious contestment had massively been the themes of what they were speaking about over for the most part, and then this came out, and I was like, okay, I like this. Way to diversify the content. Now, the hits in this ends up being Killing Yourself to Live, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and National Acrobat. The feel of this album felt metal and bluesy, but fun and cool, with a touch of sadness due to the lyrical content. My favorite song ends up being Natural Acrobat. This song just feels smooth and requires a head nod, and it's about the conception of life. So honestly, it really is interesting. It really is interesting. My favorite solo ends up being Killing Yourself to Live at 3:30. It's a smooth, low octave solo that bridges together the more lively parts of the song. I appreciated that. The instrumentation, this body of work was balanced. It was balanced, mostly classic rock and metal styles, but the Stryfe standout for me ends up going to Ozzy Osbourne, as I'm beginning to appreciate his vocal style as the voice, along with the lyrics of social decay and contesting, religious ideologies. Good old Ozzy Osbourne. Next we have Sabotage. Now, Sabotage begins with Hole in the Sky. This is a metal jam where Ozzy is louder than usual. It sounded like, I believe that Ozzy was doing a mix of like talking and singing when he was singing in previous albums. And I believe the Ozzy that we know, the going across the rails on a crazy train, that is not Black Sabbath. That is a part of Ozzy's solo career. But that voice that we recognize for Ozzy begins at this album. And I did not recognize that it sounded different until he started kind of yelling while he was singing. It's like a combination of yelling and singing. But I hyper noticed it like instantly on the first song. Anyway, there's a concept song on this called Symptom of the Universe. This is a very metal jam that touches on love conquering all in our dark universe, which is very interesting lyrics in comparison to the feel of the song. The feel of the song feels like it will be dark, but if you read the lyrics and listen to the lyrics, it's talking about love conquering all amongst the dark world we live in. So that was pretty interesting for me. Pretty interesting for me. Another concept song is Megalomania. This is a song speaking about megalomania, which is, power hungriness and self-delusion. And apparently it's inspired by the legal troubles of the band. Now, it's another concept song, The Writ. This is a song that's a steady pace rock jam that is directly speaking on a former manager that ripped them off and was suing them after getting fired. So that is, I imagine, Megalomania is also probably inspired by this legal situation that they are going through in 1975. 1975. Now, this album has more of a classic rock feel to it than metal, but it is still very fun to listen to. There's another concept song, Super Tsar, not to be confused with Superstar. It is Tzar, which is a Russian king. Also spelled Tsar. Also spelled Czar. So, if you get a little confused by that, I have just helped clear that up because I was. This is a combo. This is just a passage. My bad. I said a combo. This is a passage that Tony I created that Ozzy said sounds like God conducting the soundtrack to the end of the world. So there is some description for you. Now, the hits in this end up being Megalomania and Symptom of the Universe. The feel of this album, it felt more of a lively and fun feel, as a lot of it felt like fun classic rock more so than the cool aggression of their metal style, which was in this for sure, but did not seem as much to me, in my opinion. Now, my favorite song ends up being Megalomania. This was just a good time. Lots of head nodding, and it just felt cool to me. So it ends up winning a favorite song. Favorite solo ends up being on Symptom of the Universe at 3:50. This is a fast and colorful, swift solo. It wasn't a lengthy solo. It wasn't a lot of time, but I was like, ooh, I was vibing with it. I rewinded and listened to it like 2 more times. So I was like, yeah, this is cool. Now, the instrumentation on this album was balanced. There were more vocals, and it seems the vocal style had changed a bit more to as I mentioned earlier, a shouting style. It's like a yelling, singing, shouting, singing style from Ozzy. And I believe this is the Ozzy that we have come to know and love, the sound of Ozzy. that we had come to know and love in the future. Stryfe standout to me goes to Bill Ward. Bill Ward is the drummer. His technical displays and foundation for the rhythm are captivating. In this album. When he gets his moments, he truly does shine. So, truly does shine. Next album ends up being 1976's Technical Ecstasy. Now this starts with a fast-paced rock jam called Backstreet Kids. Now the concept of this is the working class kids that like rock and roll. You know, that is essentially the concept of it. It's speaking to, I guess, the kids that are into rock and roll. Now, another concept song is You Won't Change Me. This is a slower song about being stubborn and not being able to change, and also self-loathing. It's a very real message in this, and I appreciate it, you know? Like, if you're stubborn and you do some self-hating, this song is this song is speaking to you, you know? You won't change me. You know? Now, concept song, It's Alright. Apparently, I did do Googling for this song, because I was confused about the sound. And I don't know a lot about the Beatles, but this was said to be a Beatles type of record that is a positive message about acceptance, sung by the drummer Bill Ward. So it was interesting. This album felt more classic rock, with a hint of softer rock. I don't know the name of it due to It's Alright. Wait, I need to reread that. This album felt more classic rock with a hint of softer rock that I don't know the name of due to as in the feel. I don't understand like the feel of this because it felt like a really good blend of classic and softer rock. I don't know the name of softer rock, so maybe ballads are what they use, but I'm just gonna use soft rock for the time being. Yeah, due to It's Alright and You Won't Change Me, like being on the album. Now there's a concept song, She's Gone, which is a beautiful song where Ozzy is reflecting on the pain of a broken relationship. It's beautiful and progressive, honestly. I like it. Now, the hits on this end up being Rock and Roll Doctor and You Won't Change Me. The feel of this album was more varied due to You Won't Change Me, Dirty Women, She's Gone, being more slow rock, but the fast-paced songs still give the album a lively feel. So more of a somber and lively feel on this album. Favorite song ends up being Dirty Women. The concept of this song is pretty cool. It's like the concept of the song is pretty cool. It's about searching for companionship at night and having an unquenchable lust. On top of it, having a good solo at the end. So I was like, I can't relate to this fully, but like I thought it was interesting that they were, you know, singing about women that maybe end up being prostitutes, whatever. You at nighttime, you searching, you trying to get, it was an interesting song for sure. It ended up being my favorite. Now my favorite solo is also on Dirty Women at 2:55. This solo just sounds technical and fun. I love it, man. Tony I is so creative with the guitar, so creative. The instrumentation on this album was decently balanced. Even though this album had more slower emotional songs, there was still some complexity from the bass and the drums and the guitar, of course. Now the Stryfe standout goes to Ozzy Osbourne for being able to simultaneously be in a classic metal rock vibe and also hit this softer emotional rock on this album. It was impressive to me how he could switch gears as the lead singer, for sure. Yes, indeed, cool nerd. Yes, indeed. Next album we got 1978, Never Say Die. Never Say Die opens with a fast-paced classic rock, high energy jam, Top of the Pops. Now, there's a concept song in this, and I have not done the research, and maybe I should have. There's a concept song called Johnny Blade. Not Johnny Cage, Johnny Blade. This song is a nice jam with a fire solo at the back end that speaks about a guy that's a badass, and he is the only friend he has, and his switchblade is his only friend. Or no, not he. The switchblade he has is his only friend, and it's really just about I don't know, a cool, mean guy. So I don't know if Johnny Cage was inspired by Johnny Blade, but the names are a little too close for me not to make the comparison. Another concept song on this is A Hard Road. This is a song about having a hard life and a hard road and carrying your own load, pause, taking personal responsibility and persevering through the hard times. This is a beautiful message. It's a nice jam. Now, Air Dance is a song that just feels very jazzy, smooth, and emotional. I believe it was somewhat of a passage. The concept of the song, this jazzy jam, is led by the keyboard, which is the song. The concept of the song is about a dancer, a former dancer, that is reflecting on their youth and being relevant and not being such as relevant anymore. So that was very interesting of a concept to go through. Now, Breakout, this song is just a jazzy instrumental jam with saxophone, like with the saxophone. I was just like, what? This is like some cool jazz fusion. And I was like, this is amazing. So Breakout, we got Fluff, we got FX, and Laguna Sunrise. We need to remember those as really cool instrumental passages. I should have made note of that. Now, Swinging the Chain, apparently Ozzy refused to sing this song. So Bill, the drummer, once more he steps up and he sung this in like a deeper soulful bluesy voice, and it's interesting, and I believe he did a good job. Now, the hits on this album end up being Johnny Blade and Top of the Pops. This album felt immediately more jazzy and bluesy due to Breakout and Swinging the Chain and Air Dance as well. But it still had a lively, fun, and cool feeling to it. Now, my favorite song ends up being Junior's Eyes. I am impressed with Ozzy's ability to write about the grief of his father and put that into a hard rock song, that sounds really fun to listen to. And despite the cool and, despite how deep and sad the lyrics could be, the song feels great. My favorite solo of this album ends up being a Breakout. At 50 seconds, they let this jazz musician, this saxophonist, go crazy here, and I absolutely love it. I love it. The instrumentation on this album had very balanced. It was pretty even, and the implementation of more jazz and blues into their albums has made me listen to the drummer more. So the Stryfe standout goes to Bill Ward, because he was laying great foundation with the drums, and he also ended up singing Swinging the Chain, doing a great job switching drumming styles amidst the genre changes of the band. Now, that was the end of the Ozzy era. Before we get into Heaven and Hell, I must break down the end of the original era. Ozzy Osbourne wanted a solo album, and he felt creatively stifled. And also his drug use, according to Tony and Geezer, the guitarist and the bassist, his drug and alcohol addiction made him unreliable. So the band was going to choose in between firing him or disbanding, leading them to a new lead, Dio. Now, Bill Ward also had to quit due to his alcohol and drug addiction inhibiting his ability to play. After giving him a panic attack, and having health issues due to the addiction. Also, he felt like he could not, after his panic attack, he felt like he could not play as good as he could before the panic attack, which is scary. I would absolutely hate to go through something and not be able to have the same skills I had before or after that. That sounds really scary. But that also led to the pickup of Vinny Appice. Now, we're into 1980 with Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell opens up with a fast-paced hard rock joint, Neon Knights. Knights as in the older guys with the sword, not like nighttime. Now, there's a concept song, Children of the Sea. This is a hard rock jam that highlights environmental damage, the loss of people, hence the Children of the Sea, and the acceptance of said damage. So, yeah, pretty dark. Pretty dark. There's a concept song, Lady Evil. This is another rock jam that's based on a fictional woman, a witch in a valley that drains people of life and is evil. Not reference to any real human, though. Now, Heaven and Hell, self-titled. This song is honestly a dope, fast-paced jam. There's a concept song, Wishing Well, is a hard rock jam that touches on prioritizing happiness over wealth, and that you cannot buy love. Now, Dio has a noticeably more comfortable classic rock sound or hard rock sound, and at Die Young, I recognize that the song called Die Young. I recognize it, and I actually love the sound. I love the sound. Now, the hits on this end up being Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Heaven and Hell, and Die Young. The feel of this album felt more classic rock or more heavy hard rock. The new due to the new singer, I don't know if he can go into some sort of a metal style. So his energy was really reflecting on this album. Now, my favorite song ends up being Die Young. This is a slow starting, fast-paced jam with amazing guitar play. I absolutely love it. Now, my favorite solo ends up being on Lonely. Lonely is the word. At 2 minutes, Tony goes crazy with a beautiful and smooth and emotional play, and I love it. The instrumentation on this album was balanced, though it does not seem like they missed much from Bill and Ozzy, which is impressive. The Stryfe standout ends up going to Tony I. His amazing, emotional, technical guitar play is honestly amazing. He's truly talented with his music. Now, going into Mob Rules, 1981. Mob Rules opens with Turn Up the Night. Now, I don't know if this is the first reference to Turn Up, but this is 1981. Turn Up the Night is the first song, so maybe, who knows? Now, there's a concept song on here called Voodoo. This is a song with similar themes as Evil Lady. It's just stating that the voodoo queen leaves behind a trail of misery, enchanting man, and like draining them and stuff. So, more fantasy references. I'm down. Now, there's a concept song on this called Sign of the Southern Cross, which is actually a pretty deep song, touching on spiritual guidance and hope and darkness and searching within mythical stories to find some deeper, realistic truths. So it's an interesting song, for real. There's another concept song here, Country Girl. This is a rare song from Black Sabbath about falling in love. A rare song about falling in love. It's a hard rock style. It mentions that she snatches your soul. And if you fall in love, and also never fall in love with a country girl, are actual lyrics in the song. So I could not find the inspiration of it, but that was pretty comical for me. I was like, wow, somebody was hurt. Now, the hits in this album end up being the Mob Rules and Voodoo. The feel of this album feels like heavy rock / emotionally potent, throughout the album. My favorite song ends up being Falling Off the Edge. Falling Off the Edge of the World, which is a slow starting jam with a pace switch to a fun and lively fast-paced song. And it's about the state of us humans, in 1980. My favorite solo ends up being on Fall Off the Edge of the World at 3:30. It's just lively and technical. It's a lively and technical solo from Tony. Fantastic as usual, of course. Now, the instrumentation on this ends up being solid. Although I do find the guitar is leading or maybe there's just more. It's either the guitar or the vocals leading the pace of the album. So the Stryfe standout in this one goes to Tony I. He is extremely creative and very lively and technical with his guitar play, and I love it. It sticks out to me so much. He has won quite a few of those. Now, before we get into the next album, we must drink water. I am parched. Now, Born Again. The next album, we go into 1983. Negative 7 years old I was. Opens with Trashed. This is a song that is about being trashed. And this might be the earliest reference to being trashed as well. Inebriated in some sort of way. It's a fast-paced hard rock joint with a new lead vocalist. New lead vocalist, Ian Gillian. I'm letting it rock. Stonehenge is another one of those rare instrumental background passages. So Stonehenge, FX, Laguna Sunrise. Damn, I forgot the other one. Darn! I kind of want to go back just to like maybe put those on a playlist. I feel like that would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. But let's see. There's a concept song here called "Disturbing the Priest." This song is based on a real event of the band's morning rehearsals, disturbing a nearby clergyman, and the representation of the music that Black Sabbath makes compared with the religious community. So I imagine they don't quite get along. Now, The Dark is another one of those occasional instrumental background passages. So we got The Dark, we got Stonehenge, Laguna Sunrise, FX. There was one up here. I think it was Air Dance. No, I think Air Dance was actually a song. We're gonna leave that alone, but it would be nice to. I should have in the future. I will do that. Now, also there was something I noticed. There is a possible guitar riff plagiarism here from Black Sabbath. Now, I'm pretty sure most people know this song by the Ramones called Blitzkrieg Bop. You know, it's a you might just know it just from the riff alone. Blitzkrieg Bop. So, in this song, Digital Bitch came out in 1983. Digital Bitch is on this album. And the chorus of this has that from well, it's not from because they can decide to play it as well. It's just it was instantly noticeable because I know that song because Blitzkrieg Pop was on Rock Band and it was super popular. So I was just like, what? Like, I was like, what? And Blitzkrieg Bop came out in 76. So, yeah. I was like, okay, interesting. Maybe plagiarism, maybe not. Who knows? Now, Digital Bitch is a song about women that prioritize wealth over human connection. And it's overall, the song is about fake people as a whole. So, it has a different concept for sure. Now, there's another concept song called Keep It Warm. This is a jam about a touring musician and their need for freedom and performance, and also their commitment to returning home to their partner, which I thought was interesting to write about. That's somebody that would only write about that if they had a partner. So, now the hits on this album end up being Zero to Hero, Trashed, and Born Again. The feel of this album felt pretty lively and fun. Since most of the songs were heavy rock, there were a couple of slower, more emotional songs, but the pace really dominated the feel of the album. The pace of the heavy rock did. Now, my favorite song ends up being Keep It Warm. This is a very sweet song with a fantastic solo in the middle about keeping a relationship while being on the road. I really do appreciate the message. And it's honestly pretty rare. Now, my favorite solo ends up being on Born Again at 5 minutes exactly. This is a beautiful and emotionally powerful guitar solo and just very melodic. It's one of those solos where you just kind of feel it, if you understand what I'm saying. If not, go listen to the song Born Again. Instrumentation on this album was balanced. There were only 2 slower songs, so I got a lot of hard rock in this, which means there was some solid bass lines, some great vocals, but some great vocals. But the Stryfe standout goes to Tony I for his amazing guitar play and just beautiful and emotional and technical style. It's just fantastic, just fantastic. Next album we got is 7 Star. We go into 1986, -4. Stryfe I Was. It starts with In for the Kill. We have a new vocalist, Glenn Hughes, by the way. This was originally an intended solo album for Tony I. So it was interesting. Now there's a concept song, No Stranger to Love, which is a rare rock ballad sung beautifully and expresses his recognition of love as a whole. Now there's another concept song, Turn to Stone, which is about a woman being powerful enough to turn your heart to stone via spell work. More fictional women, destroying men, huh? Nice. There's another concept song here called Danger Zone. This is a song about living on the edge and how lonely that is. I thought that was an interesting take. Another concept song we got here is In Memory. This is a truly sad ballad about the feeling of a lost loved one, no longer with us. Truly sad. Truly sad. Now the hits on this are No Stranger to Love, In for the Kill, and Danger Zone. This album did feel a bit somber, maybe blues rock, due to there being a mass of slower power ballads or just ballads in general. Angry Heart, Heart Like a Wheel, was a 7 Star, No Stranger to Love, and In Memory are all slower power ballads, or just slower in general, and that really made the feel of the album feel somber or pensive, maybe. My favorite song is Danger Zone. I'm not picking this based on the content, more so due to the instrumentation. In the background, the drums and the guitar really make me vibe with the song. Now, my favorite solo is also on Danger Zone. It's a colorful, quick solo. It's still, technical, melodic too. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. The instrumentation on this album was solid, pretty even, but they do have a lot of rock ballads, so I do feel like the vocals were showing off on this album in comparison to other albums. So the Stryfe standout actually goes to Glenn Hughes, the new vocalist, for singing a lot and being very powerful with his voice. He's got a nice vocal style. Next album we've got is The Eternal Idol. Now this begins with The Shining. This is a smooth rock jam with a new vocalist again. So we had 3 new vocalists in the past 3 albums. They clearly were having problems with keeping someone along, but this vocalist's name is Tony Martin. Now, there's a concept song called Ancient Warrior. This is a metal jam about a wise and timeless warrior left in endless conflict, forced to serve in wars. Sounds like a character on the show I would like. Sounds like Archer a little bit. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Archer is a timeless guardian of the people, and in order to guard the people, he has to also kill people that will end up, damaging the population of the people. So I was like, this song is kind of a little bit about Archer. But there's another concept song called Hard Life to Love. This is a jam that touches on the idea of the world being a treacherous place that he does not want to be a part of. So, it's interesting. Another concept song, Born to Lose, is a hard rock jam that speaks on fighting adversity and being born to lose, but living to win. So, it's a beautiful concept. Beautiful concept. Now, the Eternal Idol is another concept song that touches on humanity not being able to save itself, the hardships that people go through, and there being a figure, a timeless figure that cannot help. So very doomy, very doomy. Now, the hits on this album end up being The Shining, Ancient Warrior, and Eternal Idol. The feel of this album felt gloomy. They did do a return to the metal rock style. There was a lot of social decay, battling inner demons, and like just true gloom. True gloom. My favorite song ends up being The Shining. This song feels just very chill but powerful at a nice steady pace. My favorite solo is also on The Shining. This is just a slow and colorful and melodic solo. It just fits with the song super well, and I appreciated it. Now, the instrumentation was very, very instrument heavy. There was some good vocals here, and great drumming and great bass lines, and the guitar work was amazing as always. And with that said, Tony I takes the Stryfe standout again. Due to his colorful performances, they made a return to the metal style, so there was more drums and more guitar solos, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Now, next we have 1989, -1 I was, Headless Cross. Headless Cross opens with an intro, Gates of Hell. This is a darker feel to it for sure. Darker feel to it for sure. I believe this might be their darkest album, possibly. It seems like they were intentionally aiming for it on this album. Now, concept song Headless Cross is a song that touches on the uselessness of charms and talismans against death. So you can wear your charms and your talismans and your trinkets and all of that. It's not going to protect you from death. Fair. Fair concept. Fair concept. Another concept song, When Death Calls. Nothing, when death calls, nothing you can do. Wait, what is the song called? Oh, I think the song's called When Death Calls. The song's called When Death Calls. There's nothing you can do when death is on his way. That's basically the theme of the song. It's another dark and metal-y song. Another concept song, Kill in the Spirit. This is a song that speaks on the emotional and spiritual death and the effects of said death. Call of the Wild is a concept song about a hero that has to resist fear in the face of adversity and survive with impending doom nigh. So, sounds a little somber for sure. A little somber for sure. Now, the hits on this end up being Headless Cross and When Death Calls. The feel, this album felt hella darker. Dare I say, dark metal. I'm not sure of the term, but dark metal for real, for real. Most of the songs are dark and about death or doom. There are no slow songs either. So this is just a very dark and metal album, which was, it was cool. It was cool. My favorite song ends up being Call of the Wild. I like the idea of the hero not giving up near impending doom. It sounds fire. It's like a last stand kind of, like a last stand type of idea. Like you're going out as enemies or demons everywhere. It's a doom situation. You know how Doom has these situations where the demons be coming at you over and over, and the situation seems like there's no end to the demons. There's no way out. Like it is actual impending doom, and like you have to fight. That is what this song represents that. My favorite song ends up being Cloak and Dagger. This is not a reference to Marvel Rivals at all, but at 250, my favorite solo on this song is very technical and colorful. It's a masterful exercise of magnificence on guitar by Tony I. Now, the balanced instrumentation on this album was noticeable outside of the vocals and guitar that just seemed to get more shine. With that said, Tony I wins Stryfe standout again due to his extremely impressive solos throughout the album. Now, next album we have is Tyr, the god of war for Norse mythology. Now, this starts with Anno Mundi, which felt like a stadium rock jam. Now, Anno Mundi, this song is in So this means in Latin, this means in the year of the world. That is the translation. And this sings of spiritual connection and searching for a divine place. So it was interesting. Now, the concept song, The Sabbath Stones, is a hard rock jam that is about a keeper of the Sabbath stones or sacred truths that is necessary in the battle for light versus darkness. Now, this album had a noticeable like grand stadium, like cinematic rock feel to it. Maybe the drum style was leading that. I'm not quite sure, but you hyper notice it, especially coming from Headless Cross and some of their other albums. Battle of Tyr is another one of those cinematic instrumental passages. So we've got Sunrise, Laguna Sunrise, we got FX, we got Battle of Tyr. We've got quite a few. Hopefully I'll go back and rewatch this and make a list. We'll see. Now, there's a concept song, Feels Good. Feels Good to Me is a power ballad about embracing the truth of personal growth and mental freeness. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept. Another concept song, Valhalla. This is a song about the warrior's afterlife in Norse mythology. The song even brings up Thor and Odin. So it's pretty cool. More fantasy stuff, more fantasy content. I'm with it. Now the hits on this are Anno Mundi and Valhalla. The feel of this album felt more grand and lively due to the vast amount of fantasy references and the drum style. So this sounded like stadium rock maybe, but just lively and epic. Lively and epic album for sure. My favorite song ends up being Anno Mundi. The opening song, it just kicks off the album with a big epic sound. And it also has a really fun solo in it as well. Speaking of solos, my favorite solo is in Anno Mundi at 340. It's just an epic blast of a guitar solo. It fits the record perfectly. The instrumentation on this album was pretty impressive due to another genre switch. And this, to me, feels like stadium rock. The drums, the guitar, and the vocals and the bass were all great. But the Stryfe standout goes to Tony Martin. Tony Martin, the vocalist. See, he had supreme vocals, and the way he sung about all these fantasy themed topics was fantastic and really fun to listen to. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Now we get into 1992, Dehumanizer, the next album. Now, Dehumanizer, this album was a bit ahead of its time. This is a song about the album opens with a song called Computer God, which is, it was a hard rock jam, and it was instantly noticeable that Dio is back. I was like, oh, who's this guy? I was like, wait a minute, I recognize his voice. It was Dio. Now, there's a concept song here, Computer God is a song about the world we live in today, where technology has surpassed us and we have a new ruler. So this was made in 1992. I don't think technology was really that great in 92. I was only 2 years old. But this song was super ahead of its time. Super ahead of its time, because I feel like we probably really are ruled by some sort of technology at this point. Where ChatGPT is just making shit happen, bro. But anyway, there's a concept song called Letters from Earth. This is a heavy metal jam that's about an alien or an observer that is writing letters to their homeland about the misery of Earth and its people while on Earth. This album is back to a heavy metal or a hard rock feel, very lively and passionate. I like. Now, Master of Insanity is a concept song about a metal jam that is about opening your eyes and paying attention to who spreads the chaos, or not paying attention and becoming a part of the chaos. That is pretty deep. They did not expound on it too much, but that is a pretty deep concept, and I like it a lot. Now, there's another concept song, Too Late. It's a slow and dark metal jam that is about being too late for the regret of your choices, for the despair from the options you chose in your life. And, it's time to pay the piper. Time to pay the piper. And that's what the song is about. It's too late. You can't be saved from your choices. Now, the hits in this end up being TV Crimes and I. The feel of this album felt hard rock and metal. With the return of Dio, it just felt, the feeling felt just like how he sung, which was like lively, passionate, My favorite song ends up being Master of Insanity. This is a hard metal jam, and I just like the concept and the vocals, all of it, to be honest. I like all of it, to be honest. Now, my favorite solo is also on Master of Insanity at 4 minutes. This is a powerful, slightly emotional solo with technical skills, of course, fantastic. The instrumentation was quite balanced, despite the hard rock and metal feel of it due to Dio returning. It was still pretty balanced. Dio does win the Stryfe standout, as I missed him because I recognize his voice without even looking it up. It is a very powerful, very hard rock, just amazing vocals for sure. Next album, Cross Purposes. Now, Cross Purposes opens up with a fast pace. Wait, what year is this? 94. Ooh, 94. Cross Purposes opens with a fast-paced rock and roll joint, Eyewitness, as Tony Martin is back on the vocals. Now, there's a concept song, Cross of Thorns, which is a beautifully sung song about religion being more of a cross of thorns than something of salvation. So something that actually hinders or inhibits rather than something that saves. That is an interesting concept. Now, and to some degree, I can agree with that. I honestly can. Now, there's a concept song here, Virtual Death. This is a slow metal song about living a purposeless life and feeling dead while living. Feeling dead while living. It is it's pretty sad. I hear you, kitty cat. You gotta calm that shit down, bro. You're over here trying to destroy stuff. I hear you. Now, concept song, Dying for Love. This is a power ballad about the tragic loss of life and children's brothers and sisters all dying for love, which really does actually translate to the loss of war in life, or not the loss of life within wars. So this song it feels like it has a bit of a military spin to it because it says dying for love, and there is there's a decent mention of like children dying and like the loss of life and people fighting for people fighting to live. So it's a pretty dark song. Now there's another concept song here, Cardinal Sin, 7 deadly ones, Meliodas, if you will. Now, this is a slow-paced jam that does a cool pace switch in the middle of it to a fast-paced jam that is about a love child from a priest that's hiding the truth and the consequences that come with that. I was like, oh, interesting. I had to look this up because I didn't have to look this up. I was listening to it and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is about, and sometimes when I think something, but I'm not entirely sure, I look it up, and I looked it up and it was, sure enough, it was about a priest hiding the truth about his love child. I was like, what the heck? Now, the hits on this end up being Cross of Thorns and Virtual Death. The feel of this album felt lively, hard rock, metally. The vocal switch did not seem to affect the sound or feel of the band. My favorite song ends up being Cardinal Sin. I love the pace switch in this song, and also the concept is pretty cool. My favorite solo ends up being on Cross of Thorns at 3:17, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. It's a fitting, emotional, and melodic solo for the song, and this is one of those solos that really just makes you feel, it just makes you feel. Now, the instrumentation on this was guitar heavy, but other than that, pretty balanced. Tony I, once again, wins Stryfe standout, with him being the driving force for pace with his sophisticated solos as well. Now, continuing, Black Sabbath's Forbidden, 1995. As I was 5 years old, I absolutely did not know this album existed, but Forbidden. This starts with Illusion of Power. This is like a creepy metal jam. Creepy metal jam. It's pretty cool though. There's a concept song called Get a Grip. This is a song about getting control of your life and, you know, getting control of your choices and getting control of the difficult times that you go through. You know, get a grip. Get a grip. Now, there's a concept song here called Shaking Off the Chains. This song is about breaking free from doubt, breaking free from lies, breaking free of depression, breaking free of a mass of negative things. It's honestly a very positive song. And, you know, I appreciate that. Shake off the chains, bro. Shake off the chains. I might just start saying that to people. Now, there's a concept song here called Guilty as Hell. This song is about the internal band issues that revolve around Geezer leaving the band temporarily in the middle of the album. So, Geezer the bassist. Now, the album does feel more classic rock than hard rock and metal. This one does. But there's another concept song here, Rusty Angels. This song is a nice classic rock jam that is about people that have lost their innocence, essentially their wings, you know, the Rusty Angels. Now, there's a concept song here called Kiss of Death. This is a fun hard rock jam about betrayal and emotional resilience from those that cause harm to others through deceit in relationships. So, something I could vibe with. Something I could vibe with for sure. Now, the hits on this album are Kiss of Death, Illusion of Power, and I Won't Cry for You. My favorite song ends up being Shaking the Chains / Kiss of Death. Both of these have fun pace changes and amazing instrumentations and vocals. Now, my favorite solo ends up being on Shaking Off the Chains at 317. This is a slow starting, rising volume, very cool and colorful solo. Now, the feel of this album felt very cool, even with power ballads. It felt lively and fun. You know, the album just really just makes you bob your head. You know, very makes you bob your head. Now, the instrumentation on this had some fun, even instrumentation. Truly a treat. The Stryfe standout ends up going to Tony I and Tony M. Tony Martin, the vocalist, and Tony Ami. I don't know how to say his name, so I've been calling him Tony I. I was supposed to look that up. I did not. So forgive me or don't forgive me. Fuck it. I Am Me. Now, both of these guys, they really had a fire cohesiveness on this album where either the vocals captivated me or the guitar play captivated me. And honestly, it was truly great. Truly great. Now, on to the last album. We have last album 13. We do a long jump from, what is this, 1995 to 2013. Holy crap. Quite a jump of time for what was called the last album that they would be going to make. Now, 13 opens with End of the Beginning, a long metal prelude. And man, I can't talk. Let's take a breath and then go back in. Their last album, 13, made in 2013, this opens with End of the Beginning. There's a long metal prelude to Ozzy's comeback. There's a lot of metal playing, and then Ozzy, I'm like, oh shit, Ozzy's back. Yeah, Ozzy's back. Now, there's a concept song here called Loner. This is a funky rock song, funky like a bluesy kind of rock song, that's about a loner wandering, wishing that he was dead. And wait, not wandering. I said wandering. Wondering if he wished he was dead, or, you know, just it speaks on the feelings that a loner could have, like feeling lonely, wishing for someone else, and possibly wishing they were dead because they didn't feel like they had anything. So it's honestly a deep song. Now, this album had a fun touch of blues rock on it. Maybe it was Ozzy's singing style or the way that that Tony I was just playing the guitar on this album, but it was fun to the ear though. Fun to the ear. Another concept song we have is Age of Reason. This is a hard rock, slower paced jam about humans and a sustainable extinction, social decay, and the loss of privacy and the out of control politics. So relevant to today, but remember, this was 2013. 2013. There also is a fun pace switch and a lengthy guitar outro at the back end of this. There's another concept song, Live Forever. This is a gloomy and realistic song about not wanting to die, but also not wanting to live forever. Since they're in their later years, at this point, I looked it up, Ozzy would have been 65 during this album. I imagine this was really heavy for maybe Ozzy to make, or whoever ended up writing this. Now, that song is also coded in like a hard rock and blues instrumentation. Now, Dear Father is a concept song. It's a metal joint about the critique of the Catholic Church, speaking on the betrayal of trust, pedophile priest, and the corruption of faith. So I was like, ooh. I was like, this is I was like, you better hit him. You better hit him with the truth. Better hit him with the truth. Now, there's another concept song called God is Dead. This is a song that questions the realness of God while so much tragedy and sadness is about in the world. It's a very common issue that people have with believing in otherworldly figures and stuff. Why would otherworldly figures that help create the earth and prioritize love and peace and positivity, why would we be in a world where there's war and child abuse? So this was inspired by 9/11 from Ozzy, and it just simply asks, with child abuse and terrorism happening, is God dead? And the song suggests an alternative spiritual hope, but not complete atheism. So that is quite interesting. It was quite interesting. Now, the hits in this end up being God is Dead and Zeitgeist. The feel of this album, with the return of Ozzy at the helm, the vocals felt more dark and hard rock and metal, with a touch of some blues rock in a couple songs. Now, my favorite song ends up being Age of Reason. This song has my favorite instrumentation along with Ozzy doing a great job, as always. This is just a head nod vibe, And of course, it's got a fuego pace switch in it, absolute fire pace switch in it. I'm a sucker for the pace switches. Now, my favorite solo is also on Age of Reason at 5:18. This is a potent, emotional, melodic, and technical showcase with the guitar. Fantastic for the vibe of the song, honestly. Now, the instrumentation was fantastic all around, dope bass lines, amazing drumming, fantastic guitar work, and, it was really fun hearing Ozzy again. I will give this last Stryfe standout to Ozzy and Tony I, as Ozzy gives a specific, darker, melancholic vibe with his vocal style that I appreciate, and Tony I's guitar play is just magical and so fun to hear. So fun to hear. Now, the conclusion that I have written about this band, can I pull them all up? Why not? Black Sabbath, all members. That's gonna be tough, right? I'll just leave all of these up. They probably don't have one where they have a picture of everybody. Yeah, I figured, because they have had a decent amount of members. So we will go back to this picture, right? My conclusion is this band is definitely one of the forefathers of metal, which was what I was going for when I picked this week's rock choice. Obviously, they're known for War Pigs and Iron Man, the self-titled Black Sabbath song, Paranoid, Sweet Leaf Changes, Fairies Wear Boots, and some others. They have quite a lot of hits in their lengthy career across their 19 albums. I only knew of Iron Man and War Pigs and Changes. Wait, let's go back. I only knew of Iron Man and War Pigs, but I only knew of them by riff. Dun, 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 dun. I knew that riff, right? And I knew the War Pigs riff as well. I knew Paranoid from, I believe, Rock Band 2, the game, obviously. And I knew Changes from an Eminem sample. So I didn't really know much about this band. The way the band felt was mostly lively and cool, with a lot of gloominess or darkness due to the lyrics of social decay and their critique or contesting of popular religious ideas. This band really does make you feel cool and seen with how they play and sing, in my opinion, since a decent amount of their content is stuff that I actually like. My favorite songs in order are War Pigs, Symptom of the Universe, Johnny Blade, Kiss of Death, and Live Forever, and NIB. Those captured me the most, although I have tons of songs I added to my rock playlist from this venture. My favorite album ends up being tied between Paranoid, Never Say Die, and Forbidden, because I actually added the same amount of songs from all of those albums, which was 4 songs. Keep in mind, most of these albums are 8 to 10 song albums. So I basically added half of Paranoid, half of Never Say Die, and half of Forbidden. So now their instrumentation was truly fantastic. They did bounce between genres, which what I believe was hard rock, metal, blues rock, and classic rock, with a few power ballads as well. I believe I am beginning to understand there is a difference between metal and hard rock. This band hops that gray line very often. I would like help to officially clarify the difference, but as of now, I will continue to ask others that have an upbringing in rock to educate me on the hard rock and metal sound differences. Now, the drummer did captivate me with supreme patterns and fill-ins in early albums. Ozzy was really fun to listen to, especially considering I knew his name without knowing who he was, due to me first seeing him on an early reality TV show called The Osbournes. Now, the bassist was great and efficient support throughout the whole album. I found myself noticing them often, with smooth bass lines. Dio was really fun to listen to as well. His style was powerful and a welcome change from Ozzy, despite them losing a metal edge from the switch. Tony Martin was also great as well. His style had more of a ballad feel, and at times it seems he had a decent amount of fantasy-based songs, which was really cool. He was an amazing singer as well. Tony I ends up becoming my favorite guitarist because this guy's solos and overall play is truly complex and amazing. So many dope, emotional, impactful, colorful, melodic, skillful solos all throughout these albums. He's also my favorite in the band. He was the only member to stay the entire time of the band's existence. So this journey has been very entertaining. The magnificent metal rock gods you won't regret checking out. The paranoid masters of reality, Black Sabbath. That's the end of StryfeSight, baby. Yeah.